Welcome to Cult of the Lamb, an extremely fun roguelike base building game that before this I knew nothing about but the name. Yet a game that would make me instantly fall in love with it, and you'll see how I 100%ed it. Loading into the game, we were escorted down to the eldritch looking beings that we would later learn are the four bishops that were trying to sacrifice us in fear of what we would become. Yet in their success, they brought us to the very spot they wanted to keep us away from, the Chained One, also known as the One Who Waits. He opened with a deal to bring us back to life if we vow to make a cult in his name. And after agreeing, we obtained the powers of the Red Crown and became his chosen before it was time to fight our way out of this. While running, we found a previous crown owner named Ratu, an ally who would also be our guide for this game. After defeating a few more enemies, we would be able to open a chest and obtain gold coins, a crucial resource for progression as almost every building requires gold to be able to create. Once we arrived to the end of the room, we were able to rescue our first follower before heading to camp for the first time ourselves. Here we were presented with choosing a difficulty. Checking the achievements, we couldn't see anything that required extra hard, and also not wanting to have the game be too much of a breeze, we chose to just go with hard mode. After that, we were able to fully accept our first follower into our cult, the chicken with two mouths who we named Pablo, who we could send off to collect resources around the camp for us. We also had a few stats that we had to take care of that would represent our cult. The first one we started with was hunger, a stat that only grows harder to manage as you bring in more followers. We prepared up a cooking fire and then scavenged around for some berries. We were able to create our first dish. And with not much else, we headed back out into the Old Faith where we got to meet Cloudneck, a vendor that would trade us random tarot cards that gave us unique buffs that would last for the run. Once we made it to the end of the room, we were shown what path we could take with symbols to show what we could gain in each room. I'm built different. I'll survive off 1 HP. Where we had our first encounter with Leshy, as he stood in shock that we could still be alive after what they dared do to us. And meeting him once again, he showed us what his followers are willing to do for him as we started our first mini boss fight. Avoiding a series of dashes and acid spits, we were locking in with our last bit of HP. But just like that, we were able to triumph over our first mini boss where we were able to save our second follower and also some free resources. We named our follower Groot and then built our shrine, a place followers could pray to us and build devotion. A resource that when you use at a shrine would allow us to unlock many new buildings for the future. The first thing we were allowed to unlock was the temple, which is when we were introduced to the faith stat. Pretty much think of it as a reputation stat. In the temple, we are able to do sermons, which draw energy from each follower according to their own level. And with each level up, we were allowed to advance in our own skill tree where we got our first permanent health boost. With that, we were ready to head into the Dark Woods and found a new weapon with the axe, which gave a slow but heavy hitting cleave attack. We soon ran into Ratu again, who taught us how to use curses, a new attack type that would fuel itself off of fever, which would be dropped after slaying an enemy. Progressing through the dungeon, we were also able to save another follower before running into Harrow, the lore dumper, as he told us how the lands used to once have an abundance of gods, now reduced to the few that we saw. But we also got commandment stone fragments, something that would allow us to create new doctrines back at the temple. But with that, we sadly took our first death, where we found out that you lose some of your resources gathered on each crusade if you don't make it all the way to the end. At camp, we unlocked sleeping bags for our followers, and then we were introduced to our last stat, sickness. Followers had a habit to poop, and if left too long, it could lead them to throwing up, and if that continues, we could start having them die altogether from illness. And if their bodies are left, it can progress even farther with followers just straight up leaving. Now, preparing for our doctrine, we ended up unlocking our first fleece and also learned the bonfire ritual, which would boost our faith whenever using it. And with that, we were ready to head back. We would get a lot of new curses and also the dagger, your fast but kinda low damage weapon in this game. And with these, we were able to fly through to the mini boss. Making sure to dodge and avoid its rally of different fireball and slamming attacks, we bested it the same way as the others. Now, the way bosses in this game work is that you need to defeat at least 3 mini bosses to be able to have the main boss room open up to you for each section. Recruiting the followers we saved got us up to 5 followers, and we also learned the farm plot. This is where we found out that the game also has Twitch integration. Mr_Gavi, by the way, would love to see you there. It allowed my viewers to fill up the shrine for reward, vote to help or hinder me during events, and even create their own followers. But back to the temple, we unlocked Bane weapons, which are a new variant of our already existing weapons that would have a chance to spawn in and also poison enemies. And then also perform the bonfire ritual to let the word be known. That's when Ratu informed us about follower level, as leveling them up would give us a burst of devotion and sometimes a commandment stone fragment. And also gave us the bless action, which would carry us so hard in leveling up everybody. And is also where we learned you can actually pet some of your followers if they allowed it. With that, Ratu has taught us everything he needed and invited us to his own home where we would learn to play Knucklebones, an extremely fun dice game. Putting a dice of the same number in the same column as the opponent would remove their dice, and then having pairs in a column would double their points, giving you an immense amount of points, yet could be really risky as you could lose everything all at once. And the game ends once one side has filled every slot and the winner having the most points. It took a few tries, but we were able to win our first game of Knucklebones and also got to play against Chad a few times. After that, we were asked to name our cult, which we amazingly named the Gruberts. Then with that, we were back out and found out the Bane weapons actually have a whole new design, same with every other weapon we'd unlock later on, which was super fun to get to see all of them. We again ran into 3 of the 4 bishops who exclaimed how surprised they were to see us alive again, and also found this sacrifice totem that would take some of our health in exchange for a random buff. And with that, we were to the last mini boss, a really slow one, as this dude would just keep going underground, which really stalled the fight. Yet we were eventually able to take care of him and then learn how to read our followers' minds, something I would honestly never find a use for. But at camp, we did our first Twitch raffle as Knight became the first follower of our cult. That's funny. And through our shrine, we were able to get our cult to level 2, unlocking new unlockables and also bedazzling our shrine. And all that being done, it was time to prepare for the real Leshy fight now. We got a new curse that splatters a surface of poison on the floor, and we were off. Meeting with Cloudneck gave us a 10% damage negation. Before entering this door, we got a Twitch vote and they chose to help me, which gave me this extra heart, which we instantly lost saving this werewolf follower that we instinctively named Jacob. Continuing forward, we got to meet Kudai, the weapons vendor, if we ever wanted to swap weapons or curses. We then found the fisherman, who is, well, the fisherman, which opened a new location for us, and with that we have made it all the way to Leshy's room. He proves how loyal his followers are as he sacrifices them to take on his true form. This fight was something. With an acid spit, massive thorn attack, constant burrowing, allies, and a massive health bar. It took us heavy concentration to survive this. Yet with just a little bit of health left, we were able to defeat our first boss and celebrated claiming their heart for our own. With that heart, we were able to unlock another upgrade, and we went for the only one that really sounded good, which was a permanent diseased heart. A heart that would damage all enemies on screen whenever I took damage. We also got vampiric weapons, which gave us a chance at lifesteal. And suddenly, out of nowhere, our first follower, Pablo, has died from the actions of Twitch chat. You will be missed. Now, leaving the body around would greatly increase the chances of sickness, but not knowing how to make graves yet, we instead stripped Pablo of his delicious chicken meat. Groot then suggested that maybe the cult should try eating grass meals. And not knowing any better, we quickly started losing all of our faith. So thanks a lot, Groot. But with the sermon and a few blessings, we were able to build it back. Then unknown to us at the time, we would harvest some of the last trees we would see for a long time. But it did allow us to make a farmhouse and seed silo, which let our followers plant and water the crops for us. And with a few bed upgrades, we were back to the Dark Woods, where Harrow told us that every time we defeat a boss, the dungeon would become harder than before. We also found new gauntlets and a sword slashing curse. And breaking the Leshy shrines actually opened a portal to bring us back to him, and defeating him again didn't give us anything special but more coins. Yet heading back to camp, we would receive the ability to sacrifice our followers, something the game really wanted us to do, but I was pretty hesitant on just getting rid of someone. That's when Jacob would willingly offer himself up to us and allow us to sacrifice him without any guilt whatsoever. And from sacrificing, you were given temple energy depending on the follower's loyalty. And with all this death going on recently, we decided it was a good time to learn the body pit. We got to see the vampiric weapon design, and then Harrow informed us that all the bishops lost something in their triumph over the one who waits. With Leshy, Hecate, Calamar, and Shimura becoming see no evil, speak not, hear nothing, and think none. We then defeated the mini-boss for another follower, and after unlocking the ability to sell items for some coins. Knight wanted us to rescue 2 starving followers to save them, and then we also built the stone mines to be able to passively gain stone. But with no lumber, we could not make the lumberyard yet, and annoyingly many other items. So we went on more runs to find lumber, where we found Chemek, the relic vendor. Special abilities that were either one-time use or go on cooldown after use. We also managed to have whole dungeons with no lumber, but did run into Helob, a spider that would sell followers to us. And accepting them into our cult got us all the way up to 10 members, which is when we also found out we didn't have to wait for trees to fully grow, and we were finally able to create our lumberyard, meaning both stone and lumber would never be a problem for us again. In leveling up in the temple, we were able to learn weapon masteries, secondary heavy attacks for all of our weapons. With that, it was now time to open up the next part of the Old Faith and make our way into Anora. We got to use the Gauntlet heavy attack, a short-ranged AoE, and then also got to grab the dagger. And for some reason, with every single ranged attack in this game, they had a weird habit of locking on to nothing and causing me to miss. Postlam Gabi here. We eventually found out that it locks onto stuff randomly because you also aim with WASD, not just your mouse. That's when we met Hecate, and because she's a coward, she started one of my followers, so we continued forward to the end and quickly dealt with the mini-boss. And while collecting resources, relaxing, Twitch has killed yet another follower, which was really just dropping our faith now. We were able to bury the body this time, yet Groot was losing faith in us and started dissenting, and would try to convince other people to dissent against us as well. But we got a huge new doctrine, which meant people would only lose 5 faith instead of 20 when someone ends up dying, which would be crucial for us to have. We then got a mission from one of our followers named Grape, who just wanted to say hello. And call me simple, but that made Grape instantly my favorite follower. We then also learned necromantic weapons, which would have a chance of spawning small ghost allies when slaying somebody. Once again in Anora, we found these little mushroom guys who needed help finding more mushrooms, and revealed another location for us. But dying to the mini boss meant Gru has just lost way too much faith in us and chose to leave our cult. Before leaving though, he managed to spread his opinions onto Grape. But with our past experiences, we were ready this time and imprisoned him so that we would actually have time to re-educate him. And just like that, Knight was our first follower to live long enough to reach old age. Next, it was time for the Spore Grotto, a place that let us buy some more tarot cards and decorations, but more importantly, meet Sozo, a little spider looking guy that just wanted some mushrooms from us. And while already out, we also went down to the Pilgrim's Passage, a place we would learn to fish, Stardew Valley style, where we also got a quest to catch a few different fish. And also found an unlit lighthouse filled with cult members that lost their leader. So we were gonna have to help look for them to relight it. And just like that, Knight was our first follower to get to live a full, happy life and die of old age. It's just so sad, man. But we were able to re-educate Grape and release him from his prison, and we were out for another run. Finding Chemek, we found a relic that would summon a demon, and with it being only a one-time use, we decided to save it for the mini-boss. Yet this demon was the most useless thing in the world. I don't think it did a single thing that entire fight. We then probably got the worst Twitch event that we could have gotten, but didn't know just how bad it was yet, as one of our followers became cursed, pretty much making them into a zombie. We got a request to accept some old people into our camp, as we were slowly becoming an old hole now, and to prepare we built some more body pits, beds, and mines to keep up with all the extra people. That's when the effects of the curse would show itself. Dude, I'm not gonna look like, I can't. That seems
Oh, that sucks. I really like that dude.
And because she's an elder, we couldn't even imprison them to stop them. So we decided to move on with it all and build some propaganda speakers to help the followers work faster. But we then found out we needed to actually fuel these with a resource we haven't even found yet. But we were able to at least get zealous weapons, which would help us generate devotion, and then made the refinery, which would allow us to make concentrated resources like planks and gold bars. Heading back to Sozo, we collected enough mushrooms to trade with him as we got the first piece of a new resources we would need loads of later. And while heading back out, we sadly had another person die of old age, and were also able to replace them as we defeated the mini boss. And once we were back at camp, that's when the worst of the worst happened.
And this zombie bitch died. I'm scared she's gonna eat somebody else.
Oh my god! You ate grape! I loved grape! Are you fucking kidding me?
I can't imprison her. Oh, I should probably sacrifice her. Y'all, don't be sad. She fucking ate 2 people. Y'all should be happy I'm doing this.
And with that, we were rid of the zombie and also Twitch integration. And the reason for that is almost every single Twitch event you have seen so far has been when nobody was in chat. So they were all just random votes that were killing all of our followers. But we did learn a really good trait now for that when we did sacrifice an old person, it would actually boost the faith of our followers. But if they die naturally, we would lose more faith than normal. But that would never be a problem, right? Yeah, this was my sacrifice cooldown literally 30 minutes later. And with this being about a third, I'm guessing the cooldown is an hour and a half. So we have a lot of elders getting a little too old. But heading back to Enora, we found a skull necklace which when equipped by a follower would increase the length of their life by a lot. We also gave Sozo some more mushrooms, which allowed us to brainwash our followers with LSD, baby. And also gave us another piece we needed. Then it was time to build probably one of the best buildings in the game with the confession booth. You can only use it once per day, but when listening to confessions, it would give that follower a crazy amount of XP. We then got the achievement for catching every fish in the game, even though we have yet to catch the squid we needed for the fisherman. So we just assumed we'd get a squid from Calamar as they're literally a squid boss. It makes sense to me, especially with how long it's taken to get this damn squid. We then did what any good cult leader would do and gave all of our followers some magnificent drugs, which also allowed us to learn the natural burial buildings so that we could put our dead bodies here to decompose and not have to use so much space on graves. In Enora, once again, we had another famine forced upon us by the one and only Hackett. So we made sure our farm was running well enough so that we wouldn't have anyone starve to death. That's where we found that there's no lighthouse leader we need to find. We just need to part way with some of our lumber, which also unlocked a new shop for more cards and some extra decoratives. And with that, our eyes were set on eliminating Hecate. We saved a new follower and were also able to defeat the third mini boss that we needed, which is when we had an idea. We found another follower with good traits, and just like that, we now had Grape 2 back in our cult. We found Flinky soon after, another player we could face in Knucklebones, and then we were face to face with Hecate. But this dude had so many minions that fought for her, and with already being so low on health, we were quickly overwhelmed by them all. Back to camp, we were able to level up our shrine to level 30, and also added another farm to be able to keep up with the growing cult. Heading back to Route 2, we were able to play Flinky, and after a few tries, we were able to take our victory as well. We were also able to learn easily the best weapon type with merciless weapons, which gave us a chance to crit naturally. We were also starting to starve, and not having enough food yet, we drugged all of our followers again and made grass meals for their hunger. And we would see these drugs quickly pay off as all of our followers started eating and we didn't have to worry at all about our faith. Soon we also found the Merciless Sword for the first time, which definitely has the best design of them all. And once again we were back to Hecate. It was rough for us, but we were able to make our way through all of its summons.
What? Oh, we were standing in a safe spot! There was no icon on the floor. Oh, that's just fucked up.
And just to make it worse, one of our followers told us how bum ugly our camp was becoming. But we were still determined. We made our way back, got another sword, which by the way was easily my favorite weapon. And we got an artifact that would poison all enemies on screen, which would really help with his minions. We also ran into someone named Ratu who was fishing for his heart. We assumed this was a place we could heal, but almost every time we found this, we were at full health, so we weren't able to benefit from it. We got a tarot card to increase our crit chance, and then we were once again back to Hecate. This fight started off going extremely well, and the poison was really helping with all the extra enemies. And we thankfully had enough health to power through his second wave of summons. And with a few extra dodges and a third attempt, Hecate has been felled as we once again claimed their heart as our own. We were able to use it to learn Omnipresence, which allowed us to come back to camp throughout any point in the run without having to lose our items. And once we had enough resources, we could level up our farms, which would help immensely as now followers could harvest all the crops for me instead, making almost all of my food production completely automatic. And another run later, we got a new weapon with the hammer, an even slower and harder hitting weapon than the axe. And the weapon with easily the worst heavy in this game, and easily the one I hated the most. And once we saved this follower, we decided to use our teleport back home as we were almost dead, and found out Omnipresence doesn't even let you keep all of your items, so yeah. Now here was Bad, our first follower with the mischievous trait. And with that, he was wanting another follower to eat some poo, which we did just to keep him happy for now.
The rituals cost 50% less. Faster rituals would be even nicer. Thanks for going for both of those. Okay, well, we know what we're getting now.
And while leveling up in the temple, we unlocked the murder follower action. And right after, Bad yet again asked for someone to eat poo. So you can see where this is going. Which took a big face hit, but it was all worth it. And with that, it was time to open a new door and make our way into Anchor Deep. Honestly, I would have to say this is the easiest area of the whole game. And this time when running into Calamar, he'd show our followers illness, but we had no problem reaching and defeating the first mini-boss. Back at camp, we were able to get our faster ritual, which also made the next level of the shrine available for us. We inspired our followers to gain some more faith from the murder mess, and we also gained the ability to marry before heading back out where we found Clunko and Bop, more Knucklebones players. And also Mach, someone who would level up one of our followers a lot for us. Then Calamar really showed our cult plague, bringing out 5 of our followers and giving them sickness, and sadly we weren't even able to keep up with all of the mini-boss's projectiles. Yet at the cult, we got our shrine up to level 4, meaning we were able to reach its max level before absolutely demolishing Clunko and Bop and Knucklebones. Whereas when we also got to learn masteries, which made our weapon heavy attacks even stronger, so we upgraded our sword as it was the only heavy attack that even worked consistently. And then we got our first ever confession. But just before going forward with that, we finally got to sacrifice our first Elder and unlocked godly weapons, which do more damage, and also giving us the achievements for unlocking all weapons. And then we got married to armor as everyone celebrated. And we were back out, easily taking care of the mini-boss, and also went back into Anora for a fetch quest. But once we completed the mini-boss, we had a good loadout and chose to push all the way to Hecate again, as we needed to defeat every boss without taking damage eventually. But we sadly failed, and for that, we sacrificed another follower.
Oh, Amir! Our husband! We're gonna sacrifice our husband!
We recruited in many more followers, and while going to do another sermon, I found out that there's a little donation bin up front filled with gold. And building off of that, we were able to reach 666 gold before heading out. We found Plimbo, our next NPC, who unlocked another area for us, and got to witness Calamar's cowardness side as he pleaded for us to spare him and kill his brother instead. And then we really got to experience how OP Freeze is in this game.
The fact that the freeze works on mini bosses is what makes it so damn strong. That's insane. Dude, the freeze is just OP.
Accepting a quest to take in more sick followers got us up to 20 of them at once. Then we were to the Smuggler's Sanctuary, where we got to meet up with Plimbo again. He requested Eyes of Witness, which are dropped by mini-bosses after you defeat the main boss of each area. In return, he would give us more of these shards, and we were able to make a full Holy Talisman, which is used to unlock different fleeces which give different buffs and debuffs.
Why flower form? What is this flower form shit? I've seen a few of them. The decoration. Oh, follower form!
And while these fleeces were fun, most of them weren't very practical as the debuffs were a little too much. We then also learned how to pretty much make someone into a hall monitor, which none of the followers liked and actually caused me to lose faith. But at least unlocking the Curse of the Beguiler gave us the achievement for unlocking every curse, and it was time to face Calamar. On our way, we found a new room which would allow us to keep all our items even on death, and it was time to fight. Calamar is easily my favorite boss, with 4 main attacks: his staff to summon allies, a little bullet ball for range, an ambushing sword slash, and a dagger for when you get too close. With the lack of preparation, we were unsuccessful, but determination brought us back around. We got a Divine Blizzard to assist with everything that is summoned, and with our prior knowledge, we were capable of easily felling Calamar and claiming his heart as well. Back at camp, we learned a new doctrine to increase devotion production, and then we're surprisingly introduced to Sin, a new resource that would grow within our followers. And the first way we learned to collect it through was a quote-unquote naughty naked dance. And through Sin, we were also able to start upgrading our temple and learned a new path in our shrine to help produce more Sin. And on our next run, we found our last weapon within the blunderbuss, an ammo-based shotgun that really should have done a little more damage. We opened the last door and we were introduced to the last area, the Silk Cradle. We found a new outfit vendor who taught us the tailor building and would also sell us new outfits every time we found her. And when running into Shamura, we thought he would make our followers start dissenting, but instead we were actually forced to fight them. And sadly later we weren't even able to make it past the first mini boss, but we did learn the best outfit in this game. And with a much better start, we got our run back, and going again, we found our last location with Midas's Cave, before also dealing with the second mini boss, which is where we met an unknown being, saying that if we continue on this path, we will meet again. But if not, then I should be happy we got to meet to begin with. A little full of himself, but what can you do when someone's speaking in goddamn wingdings? At camp, we built a mating tent and then got a doctrine which would allow us to produce Sin instead of loyalty at the confession booth, which would be really useful as we almost had every upgrade unlocked within the temple, meaning XP was practically useless at this point. But while going around, Grape devoted himself as our most loyal follower and requested to be made into our first disciple, which would allow him to bless and help level up our followers, and also unlocked another path in our shrine. After that, we went to go check out Midas. There's a donation well, a place we could buy devotion, and also an area that allowed us to sacrifice followers, turning them into gold and giving us another talisman shard. So the elders would start going here from now on. And with that, it was time to start generating some Sin. We built the drink house, but had to be careful as drunk followers could cause issues, and also produced our first egg. And making our way back out, we found Shroomy, the last Knucklebones player that we needed. And sadly, again, Shimura made us defeat our own people. But to make up for it, we were easily able to finish off the last mini-boss we needed. Back in our temple, we got a new doctrine which gave us Sin every time an egg was hatched, which would be so needed as we would need a whole lot of eggs soon. And to help with our Sin generation, we also made the Drum Circle, a little rhythm game in which hitting all the needed notes would give more Sin. We also got another new outfit from it. And shortly after, our last golden sacrifice would be made for Midas as we then made our way for more Knuckle Bones. And at the end of the day, Shrummy was just all talk, which meant we defeated every opponent and officially became the Knuckle Bones champion. We also hatched our first egg, we learned every one of our doctrines, and then also found out we had to go back to Sozo after doing our drug ritual. And building this statue for him in our cult got us the last talisman shard we needed from him. And that's when we found out that XP is in fact not useless, as we actually need to have 12 different disciples. Something we can only do once somebody reaches level 10. But this is where the kids really come into play, as when you nurture them, and also in the future when you take their confessions, they will always gain a full level. And also, letting go of all our old followers, we were finally able to sacrifice 10 people before heading back out as we needed more eyes for Plimbo. Yet once we made it to the boss, this dude left and summoned more enemies 3 separate times, which was just extremely tilting. But we were eventually able to get our win, which is when we also found the best animation for whenever you put someone in jail. And to continue our progress, we turned in all the fish we had so far to the fisherman, and also got our second disciple. Now it was time to start our attempts on Shimura, and well, attempt 1 wasn't looking all too well with that hammer start. But don't worry, because we did find a weapon shop with 2 more hammers. Okay. This run was being rough on us. Thankfully, we got some extra healing before the fight, but this was really just going to be more of a scouting attempt than anything.
You're gonna be spawning all your spider enemies. Oh, it's gonna be so frustrating. Looks like it. With all these cocaines. Oh my god, you're fast. Oh my god, the damage we just did with that crit.
And with that huge reveal, we had to lock in. Avoiding enemies and attacks with a hammer really was not my strong suit. But with another crit, we were able to just finish off Shimura and claim his heart as well first try. And with all the bishops defeated, we got another meeting with the one who waits. And with his freedom soon to come, we expected to sacrifice our life and the lives of our followers to him. But we couldn't have that happen. Just before that though, we hatched our 5th egg, and then it was time to open the door and confront the god of death. He started off making his biggest mistake, giving us the merciless sword in a really strong curse.
Finally, I will be free. Approach vessel and lay your life down at my feet. Don't kill them, please! The grape's in there!
And with the lives of our cult on the line, we refused as it was time to take on his own disciples, starting with Ball. Avoiding our way through his combo attacks, spears, and summons, we took care of him with no issue whatsoever. And next up to be felled was Aim. And avoiding their targeted spears made this a trivial battle. Now it was time for the main event himself. We avoided and maneuvered our way through his stronger variation of Ball and Aim's attacks as he tried to keep us at bay with little success as he was defeated. But we're not done yet, as we still had phase 2. He sent out his eyes which could all burrow underground and had their own attacks, all while having to avoid the one as well. The second eye was defeated as we were attacked with a grid of fireballs just to keep us away from the last eye. But it was not enough to hold us back. We pointed our attention.
Oh! Let's go! Oh man, first try. Yes! Oh, sorry, I was so locked in for that.
and just like that, took care of what was once the Malice God. We spared him and took him in as one of our own, and with a void to fill, we took on the role as the new God of Death. And we were ready to introduce the one to our cult.
Intent faith and falling ill, ignores dissenters. What just happened? Stump. My game just crashed. My game crashed. I swear. I swear to God, if I had to do that again, I'm gonna be so pissed. What? It just fucking crashed. So unfucking like provoked as well. Please say you just like auto saved. Oh, it saved. Thank God. Dude, thank fuck that saved. Like crown, we can. Did we unlock something new? Oh, new fleece. Ah, shit. Shit. Fuck. Stop it. God damn it. I already have to unlock all of them. Oh my God.
Past all that stress now, we got our third disciple, and when we went back to Sozo to see if he would give us any more talisman shards, we found a deceased Sozo, but we were able to take his mushroom and care for it back at our own camp. And heading back out for more runs, we were once again introduced to the being we met before. He informed us that all of the bishops were stuck in a place between life and death. And as the new god of death, it was now our duty to set them free. So that's what we went to do. We ran into Midas halfway through when he stole gold from us. And when opening a chest, we ran into Groot of all people. We did take care of him, but we weren't able to make it all the way through.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. Really just had sex and then died. Oh my God. Oh, that's so funny.
Yet second time around, we made sure to take care of the mini boss this time, which gave us a god tier. And back at camp, we now had our very own Sozo, and right after getting our fourth disciple, we were informed of the god tiers. But first had to give the being a name, and at a request, we welcomed back Schmingus. And with the god tiers, we were able to trade them in to spin a wheel for an assortment of different items. After that, we took care of the second boss, and then Sozo asked for us to go into Anora and save his mushroom followers. But before we could do that, we had to finish off the third boss, and after we could completely finish unlocking every building in our shrine. But we still had a bar at the top of our screen that we needed to fill out with devotion, and also got our fifth disciple. Now we were off to do Leshy, and we were actually holding our own very well, to the point where we almost no hit. But we literally took a hit right before we landed our final attack, which was very upsetting. But with that, we were able to take in the bishop and have them join in as our own follower. And while passing through Darkwood again, we found a new graveyard room, and when exploring this, we found our first piece of lore. And yes, collecting them all is an achievement, as well as collecting every outfit in every single follower form. But moving past that, we defeated the mini boss again and finally got all the eyes for Plimbo. And then we did our first run of Purgatory, a new mode that gets harder with every run and is also made up of many different areas we have been through before. You get to complete the room with specific fleeces, and on completion you get fragments for extra tiers. With that, it was time for Anora again. We were able to save one of Sozo's followers and made the grave mistake of exchanging our sword for a hammer. So you can see how this run went. And then Sozo had a very cherishing reunion with his follower. But after that, I noticed that we were really struggling all of a sudden. And it's probably because starting another run, we got a hammer. Defeating the mini boss gave us another hammer. And then we got our next option, which is just a blunderbuss and a normal sword, which we used to just barely beat out Leshy. Through Anora, we got another hammer, which didn't last, and through Purgatory, we yet again got a hammer. But this time we were thankfully able to swap out our weapon, although the game did try to give us another hammer, and we made our way through the run. But at least during all that hell, we did get our 6th, 7th, and 8th disciple, defeat the second mini-boss, and cooked our first follower meat meal. But moving back onto Purgatory, we were finally able to no-hit our first boss in Leshy as we just spammed the heavy attack over and over again. Because now we finally knew how the range attacks work. And right after, we got so close to no-hitting Hecate, but of course only took damage to all the enemies she spawns. But with help from a viewer, we found out that the skull that we got at the very start of the game can actually be buried to give you a secret crossover follower with Don't Starve, which was pretty cool. And running back through Anora, we found out that you can actually get into a fight with this vendor, and on defeating him, he gives you a decoration that would be very important later. Also, just look at how much health we were picking up in this run. This is the one and only time we ever saw 2 rows. We also finally caught that squid and secured the last fish for the fisherman's quest. And keeping up the momentum, we are also able to defeat the last Anora mini-boss. Now we were here to free Hecate, but while running through, we found a new secret room that we have yet to run into before, which turned out to be even more hidden lore. But we did at least defeat Hecate and bring them in as a follower of our own. Speaking of followers, Sozo continued eating his own, and when he asked for even more, I started getting the suspicion that we were helping him the wrong way. But for now, we would get our 9th disciple and start decorating and upgrading our temple. It was finally time for our last necessary run of Purgatory. We took care of Leshy. With strategic maneuvers, we finally no-hit Hecate, killed Calamar, slayed Shimura, and finished it off as the one and his disciples were no match for our momentum.
Let's fucking go! Oh my god, that one took so long to finish. Look at all those rooms.
Back at camp, Sozo once again asked for more mushrooms, but this time we denied him, which instantly caused him to descend against us. But putting him in jail and re-educating him enough, we soon found out that Sozo was actually a doctor who was studying the mushrooms before he eventually got hooked and stuck on them. But we were now able to help him. And we finally also got our 12th disciple. But now we ran into a little problem. To upgrade our temple, we would need a lot of sin. And when collecting sin from someone, there's a chance for them to be damned and pulled out of your cult. Yet these followers would get damned almost every damn time I needed their sin. There are still followers lost in the old faith even after finishing this video. But with that, it was time to free more bishops. We accidentally went to Silk Cradle first, where we ran into Harrow again, who told us that the dungeon enemies were much harder. And that was very evident, as in the very first room we barely made it out alive. But we did find a damned follower, and eventually saved them as well before killing the first mini-boss here. But moving on to the place we're meant to be now, Midas took more of our gold from us, but with how easy this place is, we were able to take care of all 3 mini-bosses with no real issue and pretty quickly. Our Calamar run was a little scary as we started with a hammer, but we got a tarot card that boosted our damage by 3, which for once actually made the weapon useful and secured our 3rd bishop. And we honestly had the same progress through the Silk Cradle as we easily took care of the remaining 2 bosses. And on our run for Shimura, we found Midas again, but this time when he took our gold from us, he wouldn't flee, finally allowing us to get our gold back from him. It sounded like I just hit him, it sounded like you just went, yes! And we also easily took care of Shimura, and once they became one of our followers, we had all 5 bishops following under us. And to continue our role, we were even able to fully level up our temple. And shortly after, a viewer helped us to find the fox, someone we could get more talisman shards from. Yet every ask got bigger. First, he only wanted a fish, but then he asked for a follower. And then again after, it was 2 followers he wanted. And next, he wanted something even bigger. He wanted Ratu from us, our mentor, our friend. But we couldn't 100% our game if he was alive. Realistically, what use do we even have for Ratu? Let's be real. With that, we would also start making some progress on collecting everything we needed. We found the star by Midas's throne, the crab by Plimbo. Giving these snail statues some shells gave us the snail. Making only Pooh gave us the Pooh Man. Making the statue that we got from defeating the vendor and praying to it at night gave us the Yeti. And then we went to unlock more clothes. But we already bought them all from Barrett, so we had to find the rest. So we started with cracking a few eggs, when we then made a whole lot of clothing. And after, we needed a demon to assist us during a run, and there was a chance it would drop the clothes we need. But during our first run, it ended up just leaving us, so we tried again, where it left once again.
So it just randomly fucking dropped it? Oh, did you leave? Okay, so I guess it's gonna come back. Oh, yeah. Nice!
And after, we caught enough fireflies for the butterfly follower. And we then also held 3 marriages, and after some time 3 fights, which gave us all of our outfits. And now here's where we run into another problem. We are 5 followers off: the snake, Volvi, shrimp, koala, and owl. Why is this a problem? Because all 5 of these are locked behind RNG. Remember that one secret room we have found so far with the stone hidden in it? Yeah, we need to do that 9 more times for the snake. And then the other 4 we can only get from Schmingus. Doesn't sound too bad, but Schmingus also gives us all of these DLC follower forms, which aren't needed for the achievement. So the followers we did need are much harder and much less than the followers we do need. We would first go for the snake and in turn also collect all the lore. And we were honestly on such a huge run, finding the meat room note and tablets 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 before going on a run where we didn't find one. And while doing that, we were also bringing all the bishops back to their temple, which got us another relic, putting us 3 off from finishing. And to take a little break from the tablets, we put on the 1 life 1 hit fleece and no hit both Kalimar and Shimura with so much ease afterwards. And right after, we were able to find tablets 7, 8, 9, and 10, giving us the snake follower. And shockingly, all of that only took 2.5 hours. And in complete honesty, I was expecting this to take multiple streams. But we weren't done yet. We still needed 1 last slip of lore that we could not find for the life of us. So we decided to swap our play and find Helob again. He gave us our second to last tarot card, and then we made work on another achievement. Giving a follower the dark necklace and another the light necklace, and then sacrificing them gave us ball and aim as our own followers. We then turned them both into demons, and heading back out, we were able to reunite them with their mother, giving us 2 more relics and the achievement.
A lot of things to struggle finding. I wasn't expecting it to be this. Come on. Yes! Remember it, but he waits. He always waits. Oh my god, that one was... Oh, that took so long.
And with that, all we had left was to trade with Schmingus, meaning it was time for a whole lot of purgatory for the god tiers. But first, we can go back to Plimbo and tickle his big cargo fish, giving us our last relic as well. And while trading our tiers, we were able to get the last shards for all of the fleeces, and soon after got all of our tarot cards too. But the followers were another thing, as we were only ever getting necklaces. On top of that, we could only do purgatory twice per day. So once we were finished, we had to just AFK at our shrine and wait for the day to pass. And then we were right back just to getting necklace after necklace. And even when we wouldn't get necklaces, we would instead get a decoration. And if we did finally get a follower form, it was so often a DLC form that we didn't need. Come on. Oh, we got the owl! Oh, finally. The owl was what we needed. Something popped up on the right side of my screen. Oh, another? Oh my god! Fuck yeah! Oh, that's what's popping up. Oh my god! That's another one! Holy shit! Finally! Come on. Please. Please be it! Oh my god! Holy yes, man! Yes! Finally! Holy shit! Hell yeah, dude, we're done. Oh, that was so, oh, what a fun game. And just like that, we have finally 100%ed Call of the Lamb. This game, going from one I knew next to nothing about to one of my favorite games I have played, was so unexpected, but every part of this was just so much fun to get to play. If you got to the end of the video, I really appreciate you watching, and if you would like more, then don't forget to subscribe and check out our other 100%s, and remember that we stream all of these games live over on Twitch. The link will be in the description, and if you have any recommendations on what you would like to see next, then don't forget to let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing day.